Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Titans Season 1, the rundown review. So, I've talked about Titans many times before in the past. I've talked about like Season 3 a lot. That's when the show came back out and I started reviewing like for my channel. I've talked about how like the soulless, how like it doesn't feel like Titans, how the show is a mess, how it's broken. But I never really, and I have touched down on season like 1 before, because the characters just don't feel like Titans. However, after rewatching this a second time, I have to say season 1 is probably the best out of all 3 seasons, and like it's a lot better than I remember. It's not perfect by no means, but when you give it a rewatch, it's a whole lot better. Because now the whole shock and awe of everything is out of the way. I have to say, even though, like I said, it's not perfect, the pacing is still all over the place. Like, one episode would spend like 20-30 minutes on one character, and then it would go into the other character in the rest of a couple of minutes, and it just feels weird. Now, one thing that season 1 is about is Raven, and how, like, the coming of Trigon is coming. But, however, it gets overshadowed by Dick Grayson Robin. He is the main central focus character of the entire season, and the entire series is always about him. So much that he overshadows all his other characters on the show, even when the major theme is supposed to be about one character. So, like, the season, like I said before, they haven't become Titans yet. This is before season 2 retcon and everything. There was no Titans team ever in season 1. And so the team comes together. I've already reviewed most of like the first 6 episodes, so like you can go watch those. After that, because there's only like 11 episodes, I believe, and so like with Raven, they're trying to get her to a safe place. Eventually, they do find her birth mother, and everything seems okay and cozy and stuff like that, until you realize that like her mother towards the very end of the episode or the season is actually working for her father, which is something very different from like the comics and other mediums. I will say like this first season lacks a lot of action, but when they do show action, it's pretty cool, but it lacks action. And one major problem is that since it focuses on Robin, it's kind of annoying because you want to know the other team members. However, who doesn't love Robin? See, this show was originally supposed to be a Nightwing show, but they decided to change it and make it a Titan show. And so, like, mostly, you see his complete origins, the death of his family, how he sought vengeance on Tony Zuko. And this Robin is very complex. This show is very dark and very gritty. You will not recognize any of, like, the characters. Not even so much by the way they even look sometimes. And so like their personalities are so completely different in this show. Brenton Twites, he plays Dick Grayson, aka Robin. In this version, Robin is extremely moody. He's angry. He's very vicious when he fights. He hates Batman to death. He's only broken up his partnership with Batman for a whole year. He lives out in Detroit. He's a detective. And even though he's a detective, he still goes out as Robin. But he doesn't want to. He's in conflict with himself. He wants to give up the mantle of Robin so badly, but he can't. It's too ingrained into who he is since he was like 9 years old. And he knows that there are bad people out there and cops can't always get them. And sometimes the best way to do things is with your fist, battering, or like his little bow staff. So he knows as a cop he can't go around beating this crap out of like criminals, so he can do it as Robin. This Robin is not the Robin that we know. He is not plucky. He is not happy-go-lucky. He is very traumatized by the way he perceives Bruce Wayne. Now, we don't know really what Bruce Wayne was like in the first season, And in the second season, he's an all-around nice guy. So it was very confusing as to why this dude hates him so much and keeps talking about how he's a monster and everything, until we get into the third season and they show us why this dude sucks so bad. And so we get it. We get why this Robin is so moody. When he was younger as Robin, he used to hang out with Donna Troy, and who was Wonder Girl, also Hank, Hawk, and Don from what's the name? Dove. So he used to hang out with Hawk and Dove and Wonder Girl, and while Hank was dating Don, Dick and Don end up having an affair, which eventually Hank found out about. So those two never could get along anymore. And so, like, one thing is Bruce, he didn't want him hanging out with Hawk and Dove because they were, like, more ruthless when they fought. Back when he was a little bit more happy-go-lucky. Now, the balance of him being, like, his personality, it gets into conflict once you get around, like, the 7th or 8th episode when he starts hanging out with Wonder Girl. He tells her straight up, because now in episode 7, he has finally given up the mantle. He burnt his costume and everything. And he tells her, he finally quit. And she tells him she ain't quit, she just stops. But she still has the costume around, which he no longer has. And in that episode, it's weird. We see him being his normal, plucky, comic book accurate type self. He's awkward. He's plucky, which is weird because when we see the flashbacks of him as a kid and a teenager, he's still mean and like ruthless and stuff. So the writers tried to give us a little bit of comic book accuracy, but not much. His strongest bond in this series is with Rachel and Starfire. With Rachel, she finds him when she somehow is able to see into like his dreams of in the past of when he lost his parents. And when bad things start happening to her, she looks for him. He protects her, he looks after her, but when it gets too much and he wants to give up this lifestyle of metahumans and vigilantes, he tries to push her away onto like Hawk and Dove. When the nuclear family comes in and Don ends up getting hurt, he can no longer let them stay with her, so he takes her back in. And for the remainder of the show, she bonds with him, kind of like Logan and Rogue from the first X-Men movie. And so he'll do anything like to protect her. He's kind of taking on a role of like Batman Bruce, who takes in young orphan kids, and she is his orphan. Starfire / Coriander is a little different. It's more just sexual based because of the comic books. When they first meet each other, they do not get along. And then all of a sudden, they just like sleep with each other. And for the most part, their interaction is just detective work. And that's it. Once they sleep with each other that one time, it's that one time and that one time only. But for the most part, he's trying to help her figure out who she is. Because when she starts freaking out and trying to kill Rachel, he then discovers that she is an alien and all this other stuff. He doesn't have much of a relationship with Gar. With him and Wonder Girl, they're just pals. Like always reminiscing about the old days. They used to always hang out when they was younger. Sometimes when the older superheroes didn't want them around, they'll just be hanging out in Bruce's place, stuff like that. It's in the last episode, because like I said before, this whole season revolves around him. His time at the circus, Tony Zuko, Bruce, him as a detective, stuff like that. In the last episode, it even revolves around him when Trigon finally shows up in human form. Like, it's still all about him. I'll get into that a little bit later. Rachel, aka Raven, who is played by Tegan Croft. She is probably the youngest cast member here who is actually a teenager, so that's a good thing to actually getting a teenager to play a teenager role. She is the little goth girl who has these demonic powers and don't understand them. Her mom is super religious. She is scared of herself because she's afraid she's going to hurt somebody. She knows she's a dangerous person. And all of a sudden, when she goes to school, like she's constantly seeing this demonic form of herself in the reflection of mirrors. When she comes home, her mom is like at gunpoint at this man. The man wants to kill Rachel because he doesn't want what's about to come. What's about to come is Trigon, which is why Starfire was sent to Earth, was to kill Raven. We found out that she was once raised by like these sister priests and everything. Not priests, but yeah, sister nuns. I can't lose my mind. These nuns takes the place of the like spiritual sisters of Azarath. We do not never get to see Azarath in this series. There's never no mention of it. So the nuns take that place. Throughout the entire season, her strongest bond, like I said before, is with Dick. She also hangs out briefly with Starfire, but then her other strongest bond is that of Gar, who she kind of has a little bit of a playful crush on. Like, you know, he's the only other teenager there for her that I hang with and stuff. And for the most part, she just likes being a normal teen girl, which is so different from the comic books and everything. Her powers in the first season were very cool. This very demonic-based astral projection demon thing that would come out of her. And then it had like the little squiggly, like CGI fog lines that look really terrible. But when the little demon thing is coming out, that's cool and stuff. She cannot control her powers whatsoever, but then she starts to midway into the season when she learns to heal people. Eventually, she does find her mother, and everything's all good and cozy until that last episode when we find out that her mom is actually evil and still working for her dad. And so now her mom tricks her. She poisons Gar so that Raven can heal Gar, but she can't, so she has to call on her father and everything. Gar is one of the least people who has like really nothing to do in the show, and there's really no backstory. We see his backstory in the Doom Patrol TV pilot. Now, Beast Boy is played by Ryan Potter. And this version, well, he's not very silly or goofy like he was in the Teen Titans cartoon. He's a little bit more serious. He has a little bit of a quirk to him. The only animal he can turn into in the first season is a tiger. He has to get naked in order to do it. He said he has never bitten anybody until the Asylum episode, when he is drugged and everything and tortured. When he tries to save Raven, he literally murders a man in like cold blood. Well, not so much cold blood, the dude kidnapped them and tortured them and stuff like that. But yeah. And so he's haunted by that after that. After that episode in this season, he's no longer haunted by it and stuff. It's weird to see him murder somebody because, like I said before, this show is very much different from what we know the Teen Titans to be. His strongest bond is that of Rachel, but he is a huge fanboy of superheroes. Once he finds out who Dick and Jason are, like, the dude cannot control himself with the fangasm and stuff, you know? Especially when he finds out who Wonder Girl is. But for the most part, the only backstory of him that we have is that his family was in the Congo. He got infected by something, and Nile saved him and then let him live in the mansion. His parents died, and that is literally it. Coriander Starfire, played by Anna Diop. Throughout the first season, they call her Coriander because that's what she thinks her name is until she found out she is Coriander. Lord have Jesus mercy. They did not do this woman justice when they gave her an outfit. They gave her a terrible wig and a streetwalker, hooker type outfit. People on the internet were not nice to her. Let's put it like that. They called her every name in the book, from that of a drag queen to that of a streetwalker to everything. They did not do her justice. Now, this version is not silly goofy, and this version is suffering from amnesia. She's more of a headstrong, blunt type woman who's suffering from amnesia. When she is suffering from amnesia in the first couple episodes, she has a nice quirkiness to her. After that, she's very much headstrong and will not take crap from nobody. Her first instincts is to always kill first and ask questions later. She is literally the murderer of the group, who is constantly burning people alive, and she has no problem with that. until she starts to see Dick beat the snot out of a man whose child is in the room, and she makes him stop. But other than that, she always wants to burn people first, and like I said before, ask questions later. Her native language is like an ancient forgotten Sumerian, but it's supposed to be like her like alien type language and stuff. Donna is the one who discovers that and discovers her real mission as to why she's here. At some point in time, when she's at the farmhouse with Raven and Mom and Gar and stuff, Raven decides she's gonna heal Corey's mind, and maybe that will make her amnesia go away. Well, it does. And we get flashbacks of her being experimented on when she came down to Earth, is how she lost her memories. The people who capture her, I believe they get revealed in the 3rd season. If not, then we just don't know. They do kidnap her sister and torture her, but I don't know if those are the same people or not. And so she now remembers her mission. She is supposed to kill what's her face. But here's the problem. When she does that, her eyes turn green and she goes all Terminator mode. When she snaps out of it, then all of a sudden she forgets that she tried to kill a Raven and stuff. So somebody literally programmed that into her and stuff. Who, like I said before, don't know. She has her alien ship, which is on Earth, and it's at a warehouse. How I got in the warehouse, don't know. And stuff. And so she has an ancient book on like Raven and all this other stuff and the whole Trigon thing. Her goal is literally just to stop Raven, but she can't, because then she ends up bonding with her and having feelings for her and stuff. Like I said before, her strongest connection on the show is that of Dick. Slightly Raven and stuff, but not much. I'm trying to think. Oh, her powers are completely different in this. Instead of her shooting out green energy bolts, she literally shoots out like fire, like orangish, like yellowish red fire. It literally burns throughout her body. It was just a cool effect. Her hair glows, her face and body glows into like a fiery look, and then she shoots out flames. Yeah, I don't like that either. Now we get into Hank, who is Hawk, played by Alan Richardson. This dude is one of my faves. Like, I really like seeing him act. Like, he's a good actor. He's really good in the costume. He doesn't even need a costume because dude is like so muscular built. He can sing, he can dance. He plays a great Hawk. He's angry, he's pissy, he's moody, he looks the part. I don't know what his backstory is in the comic, but in the show, it turns out that him and his little brother Donnie, when he was a little kid playing football, the coach used to molest him, and his coach wanted to like get with Donnie, but he wouldn't let him, so he decided to take it for Donnie over and over and over again. It's very raw, deep, emotional, sad, and disgusting. We see when Hank gets older, he has a drug addiction to pain pills. Being a vigilante takes a toll on his body. He doesn't have a fancy, well, his suit is fancy, but it's not as fancy as Batman and Robin's, but it takes a lot of hits and stuff. And him and his brother Donnie, what was really neat is that they dressed in like makeshift outfits out of like gym like gear and stuff like that. And so Hank, he used to play football, had a bunch of concussions. Him and his brother got into a huge fight with a bunch of people at school. They get kicked out. And then they decide they're gonna be vigilantes, taking on like grown people who mess around with little kids. And so they film themselves when they do that. It's one of the most powerful episodes like ever because of how real it is, you know, and disturbing. Like everything is so raw in that episode. And then we see like his brother getting to like get hit by like an speeding car, and that's how he meets Dawn. And so him and Dawn form like a bond because of that. And then she finds out the coach that messed with him, and she goes to find him and tells him to turn himself in. He goes to save her when the dude pulls a gun on them. Then he tells her to get out because he's about to do something, you know, she's not gonna like, but she says she's not leaving. And they close the door, and presumably he might have killed the dude, the coach. Not quite sure yet. It's left in the air. Dawn, played by Mika Kelly. She is the second Dove after Donnie died in that car, head-on collision and stuff. When we see her, she's a ballerina. There's not much about her we know. She's a ballerina. She has a mom who's British, played by Maria Sirtis, who played Counselor Troy in Star Trek Next Generation. She also played Queen Bee in, like, what's that show called? Young Justice. And so her mom's saying she's going back to Britain, I guess to be with her stepdad or something like that, or her boyfriend, and Dawn doesn't want her to because he's very abusive. As they're walking, they bump into Donnie and Hank, and then boom, the car hits her mom and Donnie. She is distraught because of this, and she goes to like meetings that she can talk to like other people who are dealing with grief. This is when she meets Hank more, and they bond, and other stuff I already told you. Other than that, there's nothing about her. Hank still is in the vigilante gang. She wants him to get out. She tells him one more mission, and then we're done, and we're gonna live our lives as like boyfriend and girlfriend. But then she gets thrown off a building when she tries to rescue Rachel from the nuclear family. And she is in a coma until the very like second to last episode where she wakes up, where Raven astral projects herself into like her mind, telling her that they have to find Jason Todd. Jason Todd, played by Curran Walters. He is the second Robin. And this dude is as pissy and moody as you would expect. He's kind of like the teen angst type dude when we first meet him. He beats the snot out of people when he is Robin. He bonds with Dick, or he tries to, but Dick doesn't really want to have nothing to do with him because Dick's kind of like, you know, whatever, man. Like, you're the second Robin. I'm done. We're out. And he's like, you need to get out too. And the dude's all like, nah, man. Beating up on bad dudes is like more fun and everything. Dick is very jealous of him. He gets to drive the Batmobile, has a better suit than him, and all kinds of. And Bruce picked him the moment Dick left, and so he helps Dick save like this dude that he knew in the circus. But when the cops show up, this is when things turn like very sour. Jason starts beating the crap out of him for no reason. And he tells Dick he hates cops. They used to beat on him when he used to live in the streets and everything like that. And so he said he loves it. He loves the thrill. He loves dressing up as Robin. He loves beating the crap out of anybody he can. This Jason is just as moody as he is in the comic, but this one is a psychopath and everything. He shows up at the end of the season to like help out with save Dick and everything, as they're with like the whole Trigon thing. Donna Troy, played by Connor Leslie. Wonder Girl. We don't know nothing about her origins in this show. We just know that Wonder Woman picked her for some reason. She did the sidekick thing. She knew Dick growing up. And when she got older, she decided to just quit the superhero business and become a photographer. And she's a very good photographer. Why? Because the actress in real life is a photographer. So they just gave her that. And so she's trying to like stop this dude from like smuggling illegal like paintings and stuff into like the country, and Dick foils it. So she has no real good evidence other than a picture of the bus going down, and that's literally all we know about her. Once she sees the ancient Sumerian pictures on Dick's phone from what he took from Starfire had, she starts to like help out with the team towards the very end of the season. So they go rushing to the farmhouse, only to find Starfire trying to murder everybody. She takes out her lasso, which was really awesome. She throws it around like Starfire and punches the crap out of her. After that, they go to find her spaceship. After that, she goes back to the mansion to try to like stop Raven's mother, and then boom, she can't get into the little force field thing. She literally does nothing in the show. We literally know nothing about her in the show. She doesn't even wear her costume because they didn't bring it into the make it into the second season. The only thing we see is the lasso, which is a regular gold rope. Nothing too fancy smancy about that. Throughout the entire series, she is the second least to do much of nothing until she dies at the end of the second season in a dumb kind of way. This whole Trigon season has been very disappointing. The end result was just all this build up for nothing. Like, people was waiting and waiting for him to come, and he shows up in human form and everything. What he does is that he places like a barrier around the entire like house, and he traps Dick in there, and then he ends up trapping the rest of everybody else in there, and he puts them in there like some type of like nightmare scene. The only person nightmare we get to see is that of Dick. We never get to see anybody else's, which really sucks. And so Dick's nightmare is just that he believes that Batman has killed all of his rogues gallery, and he feels he has to stop this monster. And by stopping this monster is letting the cops into the Batcave, blowing everything up, and killing Bruce, which he does. He's now happy, and he's now under Trigon's like will. Rachel does not like this. She tries to get him out of this. Then it goes until the next season. That's pretty much the real finale. There's more of a blue filter tint. She overcomes everything because like Trigon places like that crystal in her head for her to have like stronger powers. At some point she breaks free of her dad's whim, and then she does some weird magical swirly stuff, and then boom, he's gone inside her little crystal forehead thing, or he just vanishes. I can't remember. I haven't rewatched that episode yet. I'm gonna do it tonight. But needless to say, it was very disappointing. He literally got defeated in the first like couple of minutes of the second season. After that, they go to San Francisco, where we learn that there was actually a Titans group many years ago, which makes no sense when you look at the timeline of everything. And Bruce wants Jason to train with the new Titans and everything, where they meet Rose, which is Slade's daughter. And this is the season that a lot of people just don't like. Now, ironically, there was a completely different season finale for season 1, but it got scrapped. I can't remember, but I think it might have to do with the you-know-what. And that got scrapped. Either that, or they were just saving plans for something different. Either way, they had a finale where the Titans, along with Hawk and Dove, team up with the Doom Patrol after they was introduced into episode 4. Don't know what it entails, but for some reason Starfire now has different hair and her more traditional looking outfit. Raven has her cloak, and even there's a deleted scene with Batman teaming up with the Jason Todd Robin. I have no idea if there's actual footage or these are just picture stills. If there's footage, release this crap already. Like, seriously, man, I want to see it because the original finale sucked. This season disappointed a lot of people in this first viewing, and it disappointed me. After watching it for a second time, I kind of like it a bit more. Now that I got the shock and the awe factor out, but it's still not that great. There's pacing issues, there are characters that are like different, there's character development that is lacking. It's an okay show. It's just not great, and it should have been great. But this season is a whole lot better than the second or third, that is for sure. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.